Iran's supreme leader has vowed that the government will not back down in the face of protests that have rocked the country in recent weeks. He has accused demonstrators of being vandals who were trying to please President Trump. Khamenei has security forces would act firmly after protesters took to the streets overnight, shouting slogans, lighting bonfires and chanting against the government in Tehran and other cities. He dismissed Trump as someone whose hands are stained with the blood of Iranians and accused Washington of backing unrest inside Iran. Calling the demonstrators misguided, Khamenei has said they were ruining their own streets to make the president of another country happy. Despite Iran cutting off internet access and international phone lines, videos shared online shows protesters chanting against the regime amid burning debris. Remember, US President Donald Trump, who has publicly voiced support for peaceful protesters, reiterated his warning that the United States would respond if demonstrators are killed. However, Iranian state media blamed what it called US and Israeli-backed terrorist agents for setting fire and causing violence while confirming casualties without giving details. The protests, which began in late December over Iran's worsening economy, has now grown into the most serious challenge in the leadership in years. The communication blackout has made it difficult to assess the full scale of the unrest. The demonstrations have also become a test for exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, who has called for nationwide protests. Slogans supporting Iran's former Shah have resurfaced, highlighting the depth of anger against the current regime. Protests over the collapse of the Iranian economy by shopkeepers in Tehran's Grand Bazaar last month has become massive, spreading to more than 100 cities and towns across all 31 provinces of Iran. Since 2022, after a uprising over the killing of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, Iran is currently witnessing one of its biggest protests in recent times, triggered by rising living costs and a collapsing currency. The demonstrations, in fact, which began on December 28th, has now entered the 13th day today. And amid the widespread outrage, a nationwide internet blackout has reported on Thursday as authorities stepped up digital restrictions. The blackout is likely to severely limit the public's ability to communicate at a critical moment. Protesters were earlier heard calling for the overthrow of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and the return of Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of the late Shah, who was toppled in the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Reza Pahlavi urged his supporters to take to the streets. Taking to the X, he wrote, and I quote, "Reza Pahlavi has also condemned the Iranian government for cutting all lines of communication, including shutting down the internet and even attempting to jam satellite signals. He called on all European leaders to follow the lead of President Donald Trump in supporting the people of Iran and holding the regime to account." The current protests, the biggest wave of dissent in 3 years, began last month in Tehran's Grand Bazaar, with shopkeepers condemning the rial currency's free fall. Rights group accused Iranian security forces of shooting at protesters as the death toll mounts to 45, while more than 2,260 others have been detained as per human rights agencies. The anger can be clearly seen as protesters even tore an Iranian flag in half in a video released on Thursday in northern Iran during nationwide demonstrations. Meanwhile, United States President Donald Trump has issued a stark threat to Iran over its handling of domestic protests, promising severe U.S. retaliation if demonstrators are killed. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has said this country stands with the people of Iran.
Well, look, we certainly stand by anybody who's engaged in peaceful protest, anybody who's trying to exert their rights for free association and to have their voices heard. Obviously, the Iranian regime has a lot of problems, and as the President of the United States has said, The smartest thing for them to have done, it was true 2 months ago, it's true today, is for them to actually have a real negotiation with the United States about what we need to see when it comes to their nuclear program. I'll let the president speak to what we're going to do in the future, but we certainly stand with anybody across the world, including the Iranian people who are advocating for their rights.
The Iranian Foreign Ministry and military have lashed out over Trump's comments, with Iran's army chief threatening to carry out preemptive strikes on states that threaten Iran. Authorities say that while the right to protest was legitimate, rioters and foreign-backed saboteurs had hijacked protest. Everyday life has become increasingly unaffordable for Iranians. The average price of food has increased by more than 70% since last year, and medicine about 50% in the same time period. The current unrest marks the fourth major wave of anti-regime protests since 2017, driven by corruption, economic mismanagement, and strict social controls.